What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome to a very special video. Personally, I wait to make this video all year long, absolutely hyped and excited, and here we finally are in mid-December of 2021. So if you don't exactly know what this video is, today I'm going to be ranking the top 25 roller coasters that I have personally ridden. In years past, I did a top 10 list, and then last year I did a top 20 list, but this past year, I got a grand total of 65 brand new credits, ranking my coaster count all the way up to 158, which I would say is pretty average among the average enthusiast. Anyway, I decided to bump it up to 25 and include a few honorable mentions that did not make the cut. So, this is going to be a pretty long video as it is, so let's get right into this video immediately. If you don't know what parks I've been to, I'm going to provide a full list of parks in the description so you could look. But basically, if you're too lazy, I've ridden a lot of roller coasters on the East Coast, going as far west as Six Flags Great America. I have not touched the New England region, but I've been to most parks stretching from New York to Florida, with a few exceptions including Great Adventure, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and Six Flags Over Georgia. Anyway, let's get right into it. This is Cedar Flags, and these are the top 25 roller coasters I have ridden. Out of this whole list, I think the honorable mentions are going to be the most controversial. These are where some of my most extreme opinions lie, so let's get right into it. The first honorable mention is Candemonium at Hersheypark. This is a pretty good B&M Hyper that delivers some pretty great airtime, but the reason I didn't have it on this list is because I do find it a little short and a little inferior to the other B&M Hypers I have ranked above it. The airtime on it is phenomenal, the few moments it has, but some of the moments do find me a little unimpressed. Anyway, the next honorable mention I want to talk about is a very popular one among the community, Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. Now, I'm a sucker for airtime, and this ride has very little airtime with mostly positive Gs. This ride is a phenomenal ride, but it's not my personal cup of tea. I still am a massive fan of this ride, and I cannot wait to get back on it again. Oh boy, this next one's going to tussle a few of your feathers. This is Voyage at Holiday World. Yeah, Voyage didn't even make my top 25 for a few reasons. A lot of people have said I just went on a really bad day, and I could believe it. A lot of people rank this in their top 25, if not their top 3. The day I went though, I was not impressed whatsoever. It was a pretty good ride still, but it reminded me more of the Beast, just a lot of wooden straight track and a few bumps. Why is that? Well, I got a few moments of weak floater and maybe 1 or 2 moments of ejector, but other than that, most of the hills were completely forceless to me. I don't know what was going on that day. I rode in all times of the day in 85-degree weather and was not impressed whatsoever. Anyway, let's get right into this top 25 list, starting with Mystic Timbers at Kings Island is an incredible wooden coaster made by GCI. Not my favorite GCI for a few reasons I'll get to, but it still provides some pretty good forces. The ride starts off with a great first drop, a very smooth first drop, leading into a very smooth out and back wooden layout with some abrupt pops of airtime. I know a lot of people would put this a little higher, but I do find this ride slightly overhyped. It's got the airtime, it's got some great pacing, some of the best pacing I've ever seen on a coaster, but it does fall short of my top 20 for a few reasons. One, it's very short. 2, I found most of the hills to be a little less forceful than what people say, but let's not talk bad about this ride because, man, this ride really does pack a punch for what it was supposed to be. It's an absolutely incredible addition to the park, and I couldn't wish for anything more in 2017. This is exactly what they needed. At the number 24 spot, we have Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. Man, what a ride this is. This ride is very short, but every single element on this ride packs an absolute punch. First, you have that amazing launch, 0 to 120 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds. Up, then you go into a top hat, a very tall top hat, and you feel the positive Gs all the way up. My favorite part of the ride is Dragster's drop. Now, I know a lot of people give this drop a lot of hate because of its twistiness, but I might be alone here. I love that spiral. Out of your seat, getting floater negative Gs while you're twisting, oh my goodness, there's nothing like it. This ride is honestly perfect for the few elements it has. At the number 23 spot, we have Raven at Holiday World, my favorite coaster at the park. The ride starts off with an amazing first drop, especially in the back. You're going to get some great ejector. It has a beautiful pondside setting and some great low to the ground airtime moments in the trees. This is a great ride. Even though it is a little on the shorter side, it still packs one heck of a punch and wants you to get back in line immediately. Number 22, this might be a little bit of a surprise to you guys, but this is Fahrenheit at Hersheypark. Truth be told, this ride honestly reminds me a lot of the first half of Maverick at Cedar Point, which is much higher on this list. It has an amazing first drop with some great airtime, especially in the back, and then you have a great collection of inversions with low to the ground elements, and those airtime moments near the end are nearly perfect. It's just pure intimate goodness. At the number 21 spot, we have Phoenix at Knoebels. Why? Because this ride is still an incredible ride, and my favorite PTC Woody. In fact, it's my favorite classic Woody. I absolutely love this thing. Especially if you sit in the third row of each car, you will be flying out of your seat. This ride pops you out of your seat so many times, extremely violently as well, with those minimal buzz bar restraints without seatbelts. And I forgot to mention, this ride is butter smooth. I was not expecting such an old wooden coaster to be maintained so well, but oh my goodness, this ride is extremely smooth. It's as smooth as a modern B&M, and I'm not exaggerating. Up next, with the number 20 spot, we have Montu at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This ride is everything I personally want in a B&M invert, and it is personally my favorite B&M invert. You have some of the best inversions with some amazing G-forces. By the end of this ride, your legs are going to feel like complete jelly. My favorite moment of the ride is personally that Batwing, and I know that's a very popular pick, but oh my goodness, you really underestimate how powerful that thing's going to be, and how much you feel it in your legs. Anyway, this is a 10 out of 10 invert for me. Absolutely adore this thing. The number 19 spot goes to Steel Curtain at Kennywood in Pennsylvania. I am a huge fan of this ride. It is at my home park, so I've ridden it a bunch. This ride definitely has a great mix of inversions with airtime. This ride is mainly known for its amazing inversions with some amazing profiling throughout them and some great positive forces, but you don't estimate the airtime on this as much as there is. If you got the chance, you gotta go out to ride this thing because this ride is definitely a pleasant surprise. At the number 18 spot is my personal favorite GCI roller coaster. It is Thunderhead at Dollywood in Tennessee. Man, this is everything I love about Mystic Timbers, but in a compact twister layout, which makes it much better for me. The ride is extremely smooth in the front row and provides some pretty good pops of ejector throughout those turns. It has a great station flyby. In the second half, you could easily tell has been retracked, so it is smooth as absolute butter. A very well-rounded ride and a great ride at Tennessee's very own Dollywood. At the number 17 spot, we go back to Kennywood to talk about Phantom's Revenge, my personal favorite ride in the park and a favorite of many. This ride has so much to offer in so little time. You have some of the best airtime moments on the planet and a beautiful ravine side setting while you're going down the ravine. The second drop is taller than the first at hypercoaster heights, and the ride finishes off with an amazing collection of low to the ground high speed airtime hills. Very unorthodox for a Morgan, but oh my goodness, these hills are absolutely incredible. I am a huge fan of traditional wooden roller coasters, and this is my favorite out of all of them. You have some great negatives, some great positives, and most importantly, some insane lateral moments. It's a very long ride and a very beautiful ride, as well as a very, very smooth ride. This is one of the most well-rounded wooden coasters I've ever been on. I cannot wait to ride this again someday. At the number 15 spot, we have TMNT Shellraiser at Nickelodeon Universe. You start off with a beautiful launch, a very forceful LSM launch, leading into some great inversions with some great positives and hang time. You stop mid-ride to go up a vertical lift, and it will stop you at the top to give you a beautiful view of the New York City skyline. After that, there will be an insane 121.5 degree drop, the steepest on the planet. In this drop, don't underestimate this. You will get some great airtime / hang time. After that, more inversions and the brakes. This ride is just the full experience for a Gerstlauer, and one of the best Gerstlauers probably in the world. At the number 14 spot, we have a coaster I have not ridden since 2017. It is Mako at Seaworld Orlando. Honestly, this is Candemonium, but better. Sure, it has around the same amount of airtime moments, but they're a lot more forceful on this ride. When you go on a B&M Hyper, you mostly expect floater, but on this thing, you are going to get ejected. So if you like ejector airtime and B&M, this is going to be the perfect gift for you. At the number 13, we have the first of many RMCs, Goliath at Six Flags Great America. While it is the least out of my RMCs, I still absolutely adore this thing. This thing is short, but it packs a punch in every element it's got. That first drop is one of my favorites on the planet. It's just sustained ejector. After that, you have a great turnaround with some good pops of floater, and then the speed hill. This is one of my favorite airtime moments of all time. After that, you have some great inversions with the dive loop and the 0G stall, and even though the ride is over quickly, you still get a great punch out of it and wanting to get right back in line. Getting into the top half of the list, we have Orion at Kings Island, a B&M Giga coaster, one of the newest coasters I've ridden. This ride definitely packs a punch as well. It's got a great first drop in the front and the back, and some great elements following. Every element gives some sort of airtime, whether it's floater or ejector. My favorite sequence of moments on this ride is the speed hill followed by the massive camelback. Both of these moments honestly give some pretty strong ejector. We really underestimated this ride before it came out, but man, does this ride have its benefits. Number 11 is Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens, Tampa. What an experience. Now this ride isn't the most forceful by any means, but this ride definitely is a lot of fun. This is an Intamin Blitz coaster that has 3 separate launches, and honestly feels like the Intamin Blitz version of the Beast. It feels very secluded, and it's a very long experience. And this ride at night is my favorite night ride at all time, even more than the Beast. It is because it is absolutely pitch black for most of the ride, and you really can't see a thing. Starting off the top 10, we have Fury 325 at Carowinds. This ride is just incredible. I don't think I have a favorite moment on this thing. This ride has so many great elements. Following that first drop, you have some amazing low to the ground turns, that incredible turnaround, and to top off the ride, those insane ejector moments at the end honestly feel like an RMC. I was very caught off guard when I first experienced these personally. The back row is my favorite on this thing, and you can feel every single amount of G-force associated with it. At the number 9 spot, we have Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom. Now, I'm a huge fan of airtime machines that try to kill you, and this is definitely one of those. Not a lot of people talk about this coaster, and I really don't get why. This thing, even though it's a Chance Rides Hyper GTX, feels identical to an RMC hybrid. Close your eyes on this thing, you'll feel like you're on an RMC. Very similar restraints and very similar airtime moments that try to fling you out into downtown Louisville, especially that final sequence, which is equal to some of the most intense airtime moments I have ever experienced. You cannot underestimate this thing. Even though there is a better coaster in the park, this ride still kicks some serious butt. Number 8, we have another coaster that starts with lightning. It is Lightning Rod at Dollywood. Now, I only got to ride this ride after its hybrid conversion, so I did not experience it in the 2016 to 2017 edition with the full speed setting, but I have to say, this thing still rocks and rolls. Phenomenal airtime moments throughout the mountains, and then of course you have that amazing sequence of airtime moments that starts out with a double up, leading into the world famous quad down. This ride is pretty short, but it provides a serious punch with one of the most beautiful settings out of any coaster I have ever been on. At the number 7 spot, we have the final coaster at Kings Island on this list. We have Diamondback. The B&M Hyper at the park, I prefer this to everything else at the park for a few reasons. Those airtime moments are incredible. They are top tier airtime moments. It might be my favorite airtime moments of all time. Sitting in the front row, you will get some of the most amazing, beautiful flow ejector airtime in your life. You will be out of your seat for at least 6 to 7 seconds. It is a pretty repetitive ride in its nature, but the elements that it has and repeats are truly phenomenal elements. I just wish this ride could last forever, honestly. I would be in paradise. At the number 6 spot, we have Skyrush at Hersheypark. Remember when I was talking about coasters that try to kill you? Yeah, this ride tries to kill you viciously, especially sitting in the back row. That first drop kicking off the ride is the most violent airtime moment I have ever experienced. It really tries to launch you into the next state over. The rest of the ride is pretty good, a little underwhelming compared to the first drop, but still gives some phenomenal RMC level ejector airtime. And the restraints don't hurt at all. Come on, guys. Starting the top 5, we have Maverick at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. Man, Maverick really is the most well-rounded coaster I have ever been on. You have so many amazing things on this ride, and it does not miss one bit. You start off with an incredible first drop, followed by some very high-speed elements, including a great camelback hill. You have a great collection of inversions with the horseshoe roll, and then you go into a very forceful second launch after that first lift, and a great sequence of low-to-the-ground stangle dives. This ride, though I just recapped it briefly, is an incredible experience, and you will want to get on once again. This ride is just pure gold and is a timeless attraction. At the number 4 spot, we have Maverick's intimate neighbor, Millennium Force, at Cedar Point once again. I prefer this ride to Maverick for a few reasons. Though Maverick is definitely more intense and probably a better ride, it means a lot to me sentimentally, and this ride is just pure fun. Starting off with that lift hill, you could look right over Lake Erie with the very minimal restraints, and it is pure beauty. Going down that first drop, you are absolutely speechless. It is perfect floater airtime and leads to ejector. You are hovering out of your seat. That first turn, well, that's going to make you gray out severely. And as you go into tunnels, hills, and overbank turns, you just feel a sort of magic that you don't feel on other rides. This ride really does feel like the complete experience for me, and even though this ride doesn't fling you every which way, I still love it for the ride it is. It has enough forces to make me enjoy it, it has a great setting flying through many things at Cedar Point, and, most importantly, when you're off the ride, it feels like a complete experience. Now we're going back into the realm of RMCs. Yes, we are talking about Twisted Timbers for my number 3 spot at King's Dominion. If you don't like airtime machines that fling you everywhere, you've come to the wrong ride. This ride is long, and it is filled with an insane plethora of airtime moments that will fling you everywhere. It's a very intense ride, an extremely aggressive ride, and sometimes it feels unsafe. The repetitiveness of elements, the long duration, and the intensity of the airtime might be too much to handle for some. But for me, an airtime connoisseur, man, I cannot get enough of this thing. Marathoning this ride is pure bliss, and it is truly one of my favorite roller coasters. The reason I don't have it any higher is because I have not ridden this since 2018, and with the many new credits that I've garnered over the past few years, I want to see how it compares to those with a new set of eyes. At the number 2 spot, we have a ride very similar to our number 3 spot, but I have gotten the chance to ride this recently. It is Storm Chaser at Kentucky Kingdom. This ride is nearly perfect. I got the chance to ride this past summer, and I was addicted. I could ride this thing for hours on end. Take everything I said about Twisted Timbers and bump it up a notch. That first camelback is great, the off-axis airtime hills are phenomenal, and then after that, you are just flung up miles into the air, what it feels like. You have an amazing camelback after the set of turns, and then a great inversion following into the grand finale of the ride, and truly the part of this ride that makes this in my top 2. You have a great trick track double up that honestly hurts a bit, but in the best way possible. And then you have a double down, which does the same exact thing. These 4 back-to-back airtime hills are seriously one of the best moments on any coaster for me. I love airtime moments that try to fling you every which way, and this does exactly that, but cranked up to 11. This ride is not for the faint of heart. This ride's pacing is insane, and it is heated up to oblivion. But there is a ride I think is better. Take everything I said about number 3 and number 2 and make it a hyper coaster. Something that is much longer, much faster, much taller, and have much more variety with the same amount of intensity and airtime. That is right, you have Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. As you can tell, I absolutely love RMC hybrids. They make up my top 3, and Steel Vengeance is just a much bigger version of my number 3 and number 2. Everything I said about those two is applied to this as well. This ride is long. I mean, this ride is extremely long. It's just over a minute in length, and the full experience from the first drop to the end has no wasted potential whatsoever. This ride has so much airtime that airtime is going to be something you get used to on this thing. This ride is 27.2 seconds of airtime, which is nearly half of the ride, and every single element will fling you in some sort of way. And this ride is awesome. Though it is repetitive sometimes, it does have an insane amount of variety. It has normal airtime moments, it has outward banked and off-axis airtime moments, it even has a sideways airtime moment with 2 wave turn elements throughout the ride. You feel airtime going upside down, you have hang time, you have floater airtime, ejector airtime. This ride is just the full package of airtime. If you want airtime, this is the perfect ride for you. Once you get off of this ride, you just feel complete. Your legs are numb, but you still feel complete. Tell me what you thought about in the comments below. I got some pretty controversial opinions on here. And don't forget to click that like button and subscribe. Before this video reaches 30 minutes, I think I'm going to peace out. This is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later.